Run, run, run!
Stay away from my son. I love you. No matter what, I will be with you.
CEO Toan is caught between love and his biological mother's cruel plot. In the battlefield of family and heart, Toan stands torn apart. On one side is the woman who gave him life, whose expectations weigh heavily like chains. On the other side is Tu Diem, the fragile soul who saved him, who gave him warmth when the world turned cold. Love is not a sin, but why did Toan's mother decide to destroy Tu Diem? Was it pride, fear of losing her son, or a cruelty born from control? Whatever the reason, every step Tu Diem takes is shadowed by judgment, every smile tested by pain. And Toan, trapped between duty and love, must face the question that could change everything. Will he betray his heart to please his mother, or risk everything to protect the woman he loves? From the very first moment, fate seemed to bind Toan and Tu Diem together in ways neither could resist. He, a successful CEO, admired by many, carried on his shoulders the weight of a family name, a company, and a future expected to be spotless. She, a fragile woman, scarred by betrayal and hardship, had learned to live with silence and endurance rather than love and protection. Their meeting was a storm and a salvation all at once. Tu Diem saved Toan when his life was hanging by a thread, and he in turn became her safe harbor when the world wanted to sell her soul. But hidden behind the polished walls of the family mansion was a darker truth. Toan's biological mother never wanted Tu Diem near her son. For the matriarch, love was not measured by sincerity or sacrifice, but by bloodlines, appearances, and social worth. She whispered venom into the ears of relatives, plotted with shadows, and raised her hand not only to push Tu Diem away but to crush her entirely. Toan found himself torn between two irreconcilable forces: the woman who had given him life, and the woman who had saved his life. His mother claimed to act in his best interest, shielding him from disgrace. Yet in doing so, she used cruelty, humiliation, and even schemes to erase Tu Diem. Toan, who once thought strength meant building empires, now realized true strength meant choosing who to protect when love was under fire. Tu Diem, with her quiet resilience, never sought to fight back. She only wanted to exist peacefully, to not be sold, cursed, or chased any longer. But Toan's love for her grew into defiance. He confronted his mother with words heavy as steel. "Love is not a sin. Why must you destroy the only person who makes me feel alive?" The house trembled with the collision of generations, tradition against freedom, control against compassion. For Toan, it was no longer just about a romance. It was about justice, dignity, and the right to love without fear. And as Tu Diem stood trembling by his side, he swore to her that no cruel plot, even from his own blood, would ever erase what they had built together. In that vow lay both danger and hope. Danger, because a mother's fury is relentless. Hope, because Toan had finally chosen not to bow his head. The war was only beginning, but in the heart of Tu Diem, for the first time, love felt like something worth surviving for. The storm inside the family mansion did not calm. After Toan's words, silence hung heavy in the air. His mother's eyes, sharp with pride and wounded vanity, fixed on him as though he were a stranger. "Toan," she said coldly, "you don't understand. That woman Tu Diem is nothing but a burden. She will destroy your reputation, your future, everything I've built for you." But Toan stood firm, his jaw tightening. "Mother, what destroys me is not Tu Diem. What destroys me is your cruelty. She saved my life. She gave me back my will to stand when I had lost everything. Can't you see? She is not ashamed, she is my salvation." The matriarch's hand trembled as she gripped the edge of the table. Her plans, carefully woven like a spider's web, began to unravel with every word her son spoke. She had hired men to chase Tu Diem, forced relatives to slander her, and threatened to sell her back into the shadows she had escaped. Yet still, the girl stood there, silent, humble, but unbroken. Tu Diem lowered her head, unable to meet their eyes. In her heart, she wanted to leave, to vanish so Toan would no longer suffer because of her. But Toan reached for her hand, holding it in front of his mother's gaze, as if declaring war. "I will protect her," he said, "even if it means standing against you." His mother gasped, as though struck for the first time. The power she held over her son faltered. Yet pride and anger hardened her voice. "If you choose her, Toan, you will no longer be my son." The words cut deep, but Toan did not waver. He turned to Tu Diem, whispering, "You are not alone anymore." Tears gathered in her eyes, not just from love, but from the weight of being chosen, defended, and valued for the first time. Outside, the sky darkened, thunder rolling in the distance. It was as if heaven itself mirrored the war inside their home. The cruel plot of a mother who believed she was right now faced the unyielding heart of a son who had discovered true love. And in that fragile moment, a battle line was drawn, one side fueled by control, the other by compassion. Tu Diem and Toan did not know what awaited them, but they knew this love was no sin, and they would fight for it, no matter how merciless the storm became. The night after the confrontation, Tu Diem could not sleep. She sat by the window of the guest room, watching the rain blur the city lights. The necklace Toan had given her lay heavy on her chest, not because of its weight, but because of what it represented: his love, his protection, his defiance against his own mother. She whispered to herself, "If I stay, he will lose everything. If I go, maybe he will be free." The thought burned her heart. Every part of her wanted to believe she deserved his love. Yet the years of rejection and cruelty had carved a wound too deep to ignore. Downstairs, Toan spoke with his closest friend, Toan. "You've crossed a line, Toan," Toan warned. "Your mother has influence. She will not stop. She might even use the company to crush Tu Diem." "I know," Toan admitted, his voice steady. "But I'd rather lose fortune and power than lose her. I've seen what life is like without love, and I won't go back to it." Unbeknownst to them, Toan's mother was already moving her pieces. She called upon Ali's old family friends, board members, and even hired voices to spread rumors about Tu Diem. Whisper by whisper, the city began to talk. "The CEO has fallen for a disgraceful woman. She will ruin the company. His judgment is blinded by love." Tu Diem felt the pressure immediately. When she went to the market to sell vegetables, as she often did, she noticed the stares, the hushed words. Women who once greeted her warmly now looked away. Some even mocked her, asking if she planned to buy the CEO's love with cheap gifts. Her heart sank, but she stayed silent. She had survived worse. Yet when she returned home that evening, Toan saw the faint cracks in her strength. He touched her shoulder gently. "Don't listen to them. They don't know you. They don't know your heart." She turned to him with tears brimming. "Toan, I don't want you to lose everything because of me. Maybe it's better if I disappear." His grip on her tightened, his eyes burning with resolve. "Tu Diem, listen to me. Love is not a sin. The only sin is letting cruelty decide our lives. If I have to fight the whole world for you, I will. Don't ever think of leaving me again." For the first time, she saw not just the CEO, the man with wealth and authority, but a soul as wounded and yearning as hers. In that moment, Tu Diem understood. This was not only her battle, it was theirs. And so the stage was set. A mother with a cruel plot, a son who refused to bow, and a woman who had finally found someone willing to fight for her. The storm around them was only growing stronger, but in the eye of it, love burned brighter than ever. Days turned into weeks, and the tension in Toan's household grew unbearable. His mother's silence was no longer passive, it was sharp, deliberate, filled with schemes hidden behind polite smiles. She refused to speak to Diem's name, yet her influence reached everywhere. One evening, Toan returned from the company with a storm in his eyes. He found Tu Diem waiting for him in the garden, her hands gently brushing the leaves of a young tree. "What happened?" she asked, sensing his unrest. "The board is restless," Toan admitted. "My mother told them I am unfit to lead because of you. She claims I've lost judgment, that love has made me reckless. They want to review my position." Tu Diem's breath caught. "This is my fault. She's using me as her weapon." Toan shook his head. "No, this is her choice, not yours. She underestimates you, Tu Diem. She thinks you are fragile, easy to break. But I know better. I've seen your strength." That night, unable to bear the weight of his mother's shadow, Tu Diem wandered to the old house where she had once hidden when life was darkest. Memories returned: hunger, fear, nights spent praying to survive another day. But she also remembered the moment she saved Toan, carrying water and food to a stranger who had lost his memory. She had not been weak then. She had been brave. The next morning, she stood beside Toan before his mother. Her voice trembled at first, but soon grew steady. "Madam," she said, bowing slightly, "I know you believe I am unworthy. I know you want me gone. But I will not run anymore. I did not choose this love to destroy your son. I chose it because he chose me. If you wish to fight me, then fight me. But understand my silence will no longer be your weapon." The matriarch's eyes widened, shocked by the defiance. For the first time, Tu Diem's humility had given way to courage. Toan stepped forward, pride in his gaze, and took her hand in front of everyone. "You see, mother," he said softly yet firmly. "You tried to destroy her. Instead, you awakened her, and nothing, not even you, can undo that." A heavy silence filled the room. The mother's cruel plot had met resistance not only from her son but from the very woman she had scorned. The war was far from over, but something had shifted. Tu Diem was no longer a shadow hiding behind Toan's strength. She was standing beside him, ready to fight. And as they left the room together, the storm outside broke with a sudden downpour, as if the heavens themselves were cleansing the battlefield for the trials yet to come. The story of Toan and Tu Diem reminds us that love, in its purest form, is never wrong. Yet, the world often tries to measure love by status, wealth, or bloodlines, forgetting that the heart cannot be controlled by such boundaries. Toan's mother, blinded by pride and fear of judgment, sought to destroy the woman her son loved. She believed she was protecting him, but in truth, she was only imprisoning him. From Tu Diem, we learn the strength of quiet endurance. A woman once humiliated and powerless, she discovered courage not by escaping love but by standing firm in it. Her transformation teaches us that dignity is not given by others, it is claimed by refusing to let cruelty define us. From Toan, we learn the meaning of true loyalty. He chose to protect the one who saved him, even at the cost of wealth and family approval. His stand shows that love requires sacrifice, and sometimes the greatest strength is not in building empires, but in protecting the fragile heart of another. And from the mother, we learn the danger of control disguised as care. Love cannot grow in chains. When parents or society impose their will through fear, they do not preserve honor, they destroy trust. The lesson is simple yet profound. Love is not a sin. to love with honesty, to protect someone against cruelty, and to defend dignity in the face of opposition. These are not weaknesses, but the truest signs of humanity. If the world condemns such love, then perhaps it is the world that must change, not the heart that dares to love.